Hi, my name is Melissa Kelly. I'm the chef and owner of Primo restaurant in Rockland, Maine. And today I'm working with the local Maine fisheries to prepare a very simple summer halibut dish. We have two beautiful halibut steaks. They're each 16 ounces, cut with the center bone inside, and the skin is still on. This is a great meal that you can make either on the grill, but I'm going to saute it right now. And this is a very kind of a classic Italian dish. It's my perfect way to eat fish is lemon, capers, a little bit of white wine, a touch of garlic, and lots of parsley and chives, lots of herbs from the garden, with a simple salad and a little bit of fresh vegetables, and I chose broccoli today. We're going to use a Grillo, which is a Sicilian wine, which is kind of citrusy, a little bit of lemon juice. That kind of will keep the fish balanced. You have the halibut steaks will stay a little bit more juicy being on the bone and having the skin that will lend a little bit of fat to the pan and lots of flavor. So the first thing I'm going to do, I have my pan heating up here. And the first thing I'm going to do is, actually, I'll do it right here, season the halibut steaks. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on the fish. I use kosher salt and a little bit of fresh ground pepper. And you don't need a lot on there as far as different ingredients, because if you're going to sear them hard in a saute pan, you don't want anything to burn. So we'll wait to add herbs and all the other ingredients. So just a little salt and pepper and olive oil, let them sit for a moment, kind of marinate. Okay, so I'm going to sear the fish. With that, you want a nice hot pan. This is an oil blend. It's a mix of olive oil and canola oil. It has a little bit of a higher smoking point than just straight olive oil. You don't want the oil to taste burned. And you want to wait until you see the oil kind of ripple through the pan. When you put your fish in, just tilt it up so the fat is away from you. Put the fish in, give it a little shake so it doesn't stick. And then we're going to let that sear on the first side for a couple minutes. While that's searing, I'm going to chop up some parsley and get a little salad ready for the dish, because this is only going to take about 15 to 20 minutes total. So you want to make sure when you start cooking your fish, you have all your ingredients out and ready. And then you're going to kind of work while the fish is cooking, so everything's really fresh into the moment. Okay, so once you see, you can kind of see a little caramelized edge on the fish. It's been in there for a couple moments. You wanna, I like to use it, this is a fish spatula, a nice thin spatula. And you're gonna pick it up, and then you're kind of gonna let the pan help you. Flip it. I'm gonna make sure it has a nice golden brown color. I like to add a little bit of butter into the pan at this time. And you want to take that butter and put it right on top of the fish. Then we're going to pop it in the oven for a couple minutes. And it'll just kind of cook on its own in there. It's the reason I put it in the oven because it has a whole surround heat, and then it's going to start cooking from the top to the bottom and even in the middle. And then when it comes out, we'll make a quick pan sauce. And in the meantime, I'm going to make a little salad. Some fresh greens from the garden. I also picked, we have some lovage here, which I'm going to put in with the parsley, and then some chives, some chive blossoms. And with the salad, I'm just using a simple vinaigrette. I have like a whole grain mustard vinaigrette. Just mustard and a little white wine vinegar, olive oil, and some shallots. I also have some beautiful broccoli, and I like to cut them in big florets, but I blanch them ahead of time, but I'm gonna add them to the pan with the fish because they're big and they're gonna take a few minutes to warm up all the way through. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those right in the pan just to warm up as the fish finishes, and it'll also help add a little moisture to the pan, which will keep the fish juicy. Okay, so the fish has been in the oven on 375 to 400 degrees now for probably about 4 minutes. I'm tossing my salad. Gonna get that on the plate. And like I said, a very simple vinaigrette. I have a mustard vinaigrette, but you could just use a red wine vinaigrette or a little bit of lemon and olive oils, the way that I would have it in Italy, actually. So we're gonna pull this fish out of the oven. Looking good. Now if you want, you can give it a little baste before we take it out of the pan. And you can see it's now a combination of the oil, a little of the fish oils, and the butter that we put in the pan. I'm gonna put it just off to the side for a moment while we make the sauce. I'm gonna turn the heat back on. You don't want to burn it, so be careful. But I have some capers here, and these are brined capers. You could also use salted capers. If you were going to use salted capers, I would soak them in a little bit of warm water first. You want to get this hot, but be careful it doesn't start to burn. And the reason we're going to do this is because when the capers hit the oil, it really pops the flavor. So, add your capers to the pan. Let them fry for a minute in that oil. You can really smell all the flavors coming out. I'm going to add half of my herbs now. Again, you want them to fry and release their flavor. This is on high heat right now. Be careful not to burn it, and then you're going to add a little splash of white wine. And also a little bit of lemon juice. Now this wine in particular is kind of acidic, so depending on the wine you use, if you're using like a oaky Chardonnay, you might want more lemon, but this wine already has quite a bit of acid, so I'm using 1 lemon. You want to bring this up to a good boil. While that's coming up to a boil, I can plate the fish, and then we can finish the sauce. So you have your broccoli. And then we have these beautiful halibut steaks. Any juice that sits on your side plate, put back into the sauce, because that's a lot of flavor. And then the final step is going to be finishing the sauce with some butter. And you want the make sure the butter's cold and kind of cubed up or broken up into small pieces. And the reason being is we want to emulsify that into the wine. So now you have to be careful of the heat. You still want it hot, you just don't want it to break, to separate. So you have to keep the pan moving. Sometimes you can lift it off the fire and just work that butter in. We're going to put a little bit of salt and pepper. And then you can add the rest of your herbs for the last moment so they stay really fresh. Now if you want your sauce a tiny bit thicker, you can add another piece of butter, or you can just reduce it and be careful not to break it. I'm going to put one more. Don't be afraid of the butter, it's good fat. And it will thicken up the sauce, give it lots of flavor. And if you think about this whole meal, I mean, the halibut's very lean. It's not a super fatty fish, so it kind of needs a little bit of richness at the end. So you're going to take your sauce and spoon it over the fish. And this sauce is also great on the broccoli, so I like to do that also. This is like my favorite summer dish. Okay, so here you have a simple dish, I think prepared in about 15 minutes total from start to finish. Enough to serve 4 people. Great simple summer, simple greens, a quick vegetable, and a very flavorful lemony caper white wine sauce. You have 2 pounds of fish here, so definitely enough for 4 people. If you can cut this recipe by half and do it for 2 and put the other steak in the freezer for a later time. Once your fish is cooked, and like I said, this is enough for 4 people, so there's a bone that runs down the center of the fillet. This is the backbone and then the spine. So you want to look at the fish, and you can see right where it is. Move your little capers out of the way, but take your knife and just run it along the bone, and if your fish is cooked perfectly, it will just slide right off. And there's a couple bones right at the top, and then the center bone, which we're gonna pull out, and you just want to make sure you got all of those bones, and then you can just lift your fillets right back onto your plate. Here I have 4 basically perfect size portions ready to go.